everyone. Bienvenidos y bienvenidas. Gracias por acompañarnos. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Feli Garcia Lopez, and I'm one of the Educator Innovation Leads on Team Flip at Microsoft. Today, we are so excited to have this special celebration in honor of Hispanic Heritage Month. This is a special time to celebrate and recognize the culture, heritage, contributions, and beautiful impacts of Hispanics and Latino Americans across our country and the Latin American countries around the world, en todo nuestro planeta, en todo nuestro mundo. Estoy súper emocionada de estar aquí con ustedes. Mi corazón hace así, fuerte, fuerte. We would love to have you join this celebration of Hispanic heritage. You can use the chat to engage with us live or share on social. We would love to hear where you're joining us from. Feel free to share a shout out to your school or district in the chat. Be sure to tag us at Microsoft Flip to keep the conversation going. Así que los invitamos a que compartan con todos nosotros desde donde nos acompañan y envíen un saludo a sus instituciones educativas en el chat. Vamos a estar súper al pendiente del chat. Y mis amigos, mis amigas, pues les comento, les platico. Today I'm so excited, super excited to welcome the 2023-2024 National Ambassador for Young People Literature. She is a Newbery medalist and a New York Times best-selling author. Es un honor para nosotros darle la más cordial bienvenida. So please help me welcome Meg Medina.
Hola, Feli, ¿qué tal? Hi, everybody, ¿cómo están?
Estamos contentísimos. El chat está así, mira, y mi corazón, son tu fan, mi corazón late, and we're so honored to have you join us for this conversation. Muchísimas gracias por haber aceptado la invitación, Meg.
¿Cómo no? Un honor para mí. Gracias, Feli.
Muchísimas gracias a ti. Y pues, ¿te parece bien? I would like to start right away with a question. Yes, we have a lot of questions for you, and we have questions from our students. So first of all, Meg, we would love to know, what does Hispanic Heritage Month mean to you?
Well, the truth is that every month is Hispanic Heritage Month for me and you. Right? I celebrate Hispanic Heritage Month every single day of my life. But for the country, I think it's this time, this 30 days, that we can remember and celebrate the countless contributions of Latinos from across the country in every sort of realm, whether it's music, whether it's food, whether it's literature, invention, sciences, politics. I mean, just remembering all the ways that our history and our lives sort of intersect with this nation's history, and all the ways that we make the U.S. a better and stronger country.
Definitely. Thank you for sharing that. And thank you for saying the importance, right? Every month, every day of our lives is a celebration of our students, right? Of our, like I call my babies, our babies, like celebrating them and celebrating also our culture in the different ways that you mentioned, how it is so important to bring this into our classrooms and to our everyday life, right? Because the classroom is not only at school, like life is a classroom. It's like our everyday. So, ay, Meg, muchísimas gracias por compartir esto con nosotros. Y te voy a platicar that I'm so excited about the opportunity to have this plática, right? Because we're having a cafecito juntas, this platiquita right, with you, and ask you the questions that we have received from our Flip Familia. So the questions that we are going to use for this interview is our familia, our kids, our students, our Flip Familia students. So, ready for the second question, my friend?
Lista.
Vamos a empezar. Your Cuban heritage is an essential part of your identity and your writing. Could you share with us how your background has influenced your writing journey and the stories that you tell?
Yes. So I would say that my family were storytellers all the time, but stories about their lives in Cuba, as when they were children, when they were teachers, how they left the country, how they arrived here. All it was story, story, story. And I think that those stories, especially my grandmother was told the best ones of all, but the way that she told stories, like with suspense after school, the story of the hurricane, the story of she was in love with my grandfather for 7 years and they wrote each other letters for 7 years, before they met again. Like all of those kinds of stories just filled my head with the sound of story and more like el cariño, la conexión, the way that stories connect us to other people and other times and open our minds sort of to how people are. So when you read any of my books, whether you're reading Mango Abuela and Me or Evelyn del Rey or the Mercy series or any of the books for older kids, it's always about family and culture and growing up and where those three things like intersect. And then the other thing that is always in my books is um, siempre tengo español por ahí. ¿Por qué? Why do I use Spanglish or Spanish words? Because I think in your family, Feli, it has to be the same. But I speak English and then I sometimes I only know the word in Spanish or the Spanish word makes better sense and I go in and out and that's how our families sound because in our family sometimes some of us speak mostly English, some of us speak mostly Spanish, some of us speak a combination of both. Así que siempre es algo, it's very fluid back and forth. And so I like that. And I like for kids who don't speak Espanol at all to have the chance to hear Spanish spoken sort of naturally, to go find out what that word means, or to be detectives, to use all the words around that word to make meaning. When you're a reader, especially as you get older, right, and you're reading harder and harder things, you will always have to have that skill because you won't always immediately be able to Google a word, right? You're going to have to be able to read and say, what does this mean based on everything else that's around the context clues? So I don't know. I think it was the storytelling and the sense of like connection and love that I think transferred from the way my family was to what's in my books.
Amazing, amazing. Thank you for sharing that beautiful answer. And you said we're storytellers, right? The
Mm,
stories of the abuelitas, abuelitos, the tíos, the tías, and oh yes, like those beautiful memories, right? And how important it is to recognize and bring them and continue telling those stories so that the traditions, right? The traditions continue. You also talk about the opportunities for other kids to hear Spanish.
yes.
You talk about Spanglish, which is, I totally agree with you. Nos pasa aquí en la familia, ¿verdad? Brincamos de un idioma al otro
Sí,
rápidamente. And a lot of the times we don't think about it, right? We go from
right.
English to Spanish, and there's like specific words that I just remember that word in Spanish, and I'm like, ay, como que no se me
Right.
queda en inglés, right? And I always
Exacto.
have the sticky notes with me, right? Because what's the word? But it's that magical, right? How magical it is for our brain to go from one language to the other, the translanguaging, right? And the
Yeah.
importance for our students to feel proud about it, to feel and recognize that it is part of our culture and it is part of who we are. And the magic also, Meg, that you said that the chance for other kids who don't speak Spanish to be exposed to this beautiful language, right?
Yeah.
And open more doors for our students, for our babies to appreciate other cultures, respect and learn from them. So
Mhm.
yes, 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 yes,
Yeah.
my friend. And also in the conversation that we just had, you talk about las experiencias, ¿verdad? And it takes me to
Mhm.
our second question, which is in your books, ¿verdad? In your books, you often highlight the experiences, las experiencias of Latino, Latina, Latinx characters and their families.
Yeah.
Why do you think it's important to have diverse voices and stories in children's books and young adult literature? Why are those experiencias importantes?
Well, first of all, I think we need everybody's story on the shelves because that's who's sitting in the seats. If you look around your classroom, you're going to see people whose roots are from all over the world, right? And we get to know each other better by knowing about their background and their roots, and it's just I think interesting and respectful. It's a way to connect people again. Now, with Latino literature in particular, literature that features Latino characters, I think we have to be diverse within that as well, right? So we're not a monolith. That's kind of a big fancy word, right? But the monolith is like that we're one thing. You have a stamp that says Latino, boom, right? And you're only one thing. You only look one way. You only sound one way. You can only live in one place. Like it's silly. Like that's not real. We come in all races. We have all different religions. We live all over the country, North Dakota to Florida to all over the world. Like it's so wide. So it's important that we have books that tell all the different stories and all the different experiences that are part of Latinidad. So sometimes that is the immigration story. Sometimes that is the language story. Sometimes that is the middle class daughter of an orthodontist story. Sometimes, it's endless. And it's important that we draw, and we have lots of those stories so that we draw a picture that's realistic about who Latinos are. And that's really true for every group, right? You don't want just a single story about a group of people because then that becomes just stereotype, right? Estereotipas. We don't want those. We want pictures of people as we really are. Because when we see that on the page, when we interact with that, we have a better chance of understanding people deeply and respecting people deeply and understanding the range of what's possible inside a person. So I think that's it. I think it's about really being honest about people, all kinds of people.
All kinds of people, yes, and that Latinidad, I love that word, Latinidad, de la que hablaste, right? That to draw this picture and to be open-minded, right? That a lot of the time, Latinos, right? I'm from Mexico. I grew up in Mexico. I moved to the US. Yeah, I was 21 years old when I moved to the US, and people right away tell me, "Oh, if I travel different places, I live in South Texas, but if I travel different places here in the US, people right away tell me, oh, you're from Mexico, right? Tu acento,
Right.
tu latinidad, ¿verdad? Podemos saber automáticamente que eres mexicana. And definitely, yes, right? Because we as Latinos, we even speak different Spanish.
Yes.
Mi español de México es muy diferente al español de Argentina, al español de nuestros hermanos y hermanas de Argentina. Es diferente al español de nuestros hermanos y hermanos cubanos y cubanas. Entonces, somos parte de ser esa latinidad, but we also offer different stories. We bring different pictures to the story that we are presenting to this beautiful planet, to this beautiful world, and to our beautiful classrooms, right? And have that in mind so that every single one of our students is represented, and every single one of our students has a voice, and every single one of the students see himself or herself in the stories that we tell and in the books that we have available for them in our classroom and in our libraries, Meg. I love it, love it, love it, love it, love
Así
it,
es,
my friend.
Betty.
Sí, muchísimas gracias. Vamos a continuar con nuestra tercer pregunta, porque we're going to share that you're the national ambassadors for young people literature, ¿verdad? So we would love to know, or can you tell us what this means? And
Yes.
also, will you please share about your passion for Cuéntame, let's talk books, por favor, Meg?
Sí, como no, un placer. Well, first of all, I have something to show you. This is my medal. It's the national, well, let's see if I get it right. There we go. The National Ambassador for Young People's Literature, and it has my name on the back and the years that I would serve. It is very heavy. I'm only allowed to wear it at official ambassador events, which is very interesting to me. But it's a job for 2 years. And I am the nation's book friend. My job is promover la lectura en el país. So I go around the country and I'm talking with kids and families about books and libraries and connection. So when you become the ambassador, when you agree, the Librarian of Congress chooses you. And it's a program that is from the Library of Congress and another organization that's called Every Child a Reader. When you're selected, they ask you to give 2 years of your time to the nation's children. And in that time, you have to ask yourself, what do you want to stand for? ¿Qué voy a representar? Bueno, soy la primera latina en este puesto. I'm the first Latina ambassador of children's literature. So I'm the ambassador for all children, Latino and non-Latino, but I know that for Latino children, this is a special moment. It's a time to look and ask yourself, like, to sort of see us as having a literary life, a life that loves books and that uses books as the center of things. So for me, my idea was this thing called Cuéntame, let's talk books. And you know, Feli, if I saw you, the first thing I'd say to you would be, Cuéntame, Feli, ¿cómo estás? Or ¿qué es de tu vida? And we would be chatting. Cuéntame is this wonderful expression that says, tell me. But if you are an English speaker, it comes from two words, story, cuentos, me, story, me. And so it's like being covered in stories. And so when I go to schools, I help kids do what we call book talking, like telling me about the books they love. Is it comic books? Is it fantasy? Are there mysteries? Is it picture books? Like, what is it? What kind of books are you loving? And they tell me about it. And then I tell them at different schools where I go and different libraries, the books that I'm reading that are coming out now that I think they would love. So we have like a book party. We talk about books and we laugh about them. And nobody's doing a book report. Nobody's doing a vocabulary list. Nada de eso. Un minuto por cada título. And we just talk about books we love. I go to visit the library at every community because my friends out there, I really want you to reacquaint yourself with the library, not only your school library, but your public library, because they have everything. I was in Nashville, Tennessee. You can rent tools like garden tools if you want to from the library. You can rent medical equipment, like if you wanted to check your heart and things like that. You can learn a language there. You could go see puppet shows there. Hay tantas cosas en la biblioteca pública. It's unbelievable. And so I want families to start visiting the library more regularly and to make it fun. Go to the park afterward. Go tomarse un helado después, algo. Make it fun and make it part of your life, because when you have lots of books at home and lots of things to look at, you end up usually being a stronger reader, which is good in school, for school and all of that, but also good for you as a person, for your mind. And then the last part of Cuéntame that I'm starting to do now is I'm going to record videos with, I think it'll be 12 to 15 authors who are writing new books for kids now. Authors who I think, like, I really want you to know these people. And I'm going to ask them to read me a minute of their work, their best minute, and tell me why that's their best minute. I'm going to ask them to tell me one thing that they believe is true about reading and growing up. And I think that will be a really fun way to just sort of keep meeting new authors. And the last thing I'm going to tell you, Feli, because I could talk about the ambassadorship for a long time, pero mira, ¿ves esta tarjetita? Dice, Cuéntame, let's talk books. I know, it's a little postcard. You can write to me at the Library of Congress. you would write to me. You can download this postcard, I think, from my website, or you can just write me a letter. You would write to the National Ambassador of Young People's Literature, Meg Medina. Teachers, it would be the care of the Poetry and Literature Office. And the Library of Congress is at 101 Independence Avenue in Washington, D.C., 20515. And I know that when this gets posted, they'll probably put that information up there. But it gets lonely sometimes at the Library of Congress, so I would love to get notes from my friends telling me, what are you reading? What do you think I should read? What do you think is hard about reading? What do you wish people knew? A secret that you have, maybe something that you feel about reading. So anyway, I'm having a great time, and I just finished in Nashville, and later I'm going to Washington and to Idaho later this year. And right now you can apply to have me come to your school. So check on the Library of Congress website for those applications as well.
Wow, 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 excelente, Meg, muchísimas gracias. Primeramente, felicidades por ser la primera latina embajadora. Qué orgullo que nos representes, la mejor persona para representarnos, así que de ahí estamos súper, súper agradecidos. Hablaste también the word cuéntame, right? Like, también it brings love, right? Because when a person tells you, hey, cuéntame de ti, like that person cares for you. Like, I want to know about you. Like, I want to know more about your story so that we can have that connection, right? Like abuela, like every time, like I will go and see my abuela, mi abuelita. A ver, mi vida, cuéntame de ti, mi corazón. ¿Qué ha sido de tu vida? Like, I want to know about you. So I loved everything that you said about the word cuéntame, cómo la partiste la palabra cuento en mí, right? Cuento en mí. And it's like the way you said it, it's Spanglish. So it's like, casi se me sale el corazón, mujer, así. Divino, divino, but it's the connection that we have, right? And the love that we have with the word as well. Stronger readers, like our libraries, everything that our libraries offer for us. For us as adults, as kids, as parents, as individuals, like everywhere we go. Tenemos las bibliotecas en las escuelas, pero también tenemos las bibliotecas públicas with so many services for us if you want to learn another language, like you mentioned. And a lot of these, basically everything from our public libraries is free.
Yes, I love that. It's free, and they're very beautiful spaces. It's nice and air conditioned in the hot summer month. But librarians really have such good information. They could give you good ideas of books to read. It's just add it in. It doesn't have to be, no tiene que ser lucha entre tiempo enfrente de la pantalla y tiempo con un libro. Las dos cosas pueden coexistir. You can have time with your devices. You could read books on your devices, as you know, right? It doesn't have to be a battle. You don't have to choose one or the other. I'm just saying that choose books too. Add them also. It's such an adventure. It's an adventure for your heart, and it's an adventure for your mind. It's wonderful.
Excelente. And also, thank you for opening the door to other authors. I have my notitas right here because I love writing, just like I love reading. And it is like the connection of reading and writing, the listening, right? The story and writing it down so that it can stay in your heart. But Meg, thank you for opening the door for other authors, right? That you want them to know our students, right? Know our Latinos, our Latinas, but you also want everyone to know them. So thank you for opening doors, because as Latinos and Latinas, it is also our responsibility to open door for other Latinos, and other people, right? Para todos, abrir la puerta para todos. Así que la postal, that postcard, my friends, we need to, yes, after we we published the event on YouTube. We're going to have all the information available for you with the links and everything, all the information so that you have access to all of this. Everything that Meg shared with us is going to be available to you. The links and the information and how to send esta postal tan maravillosa que nos compartiste, Meg. Así que excelente, Meg. We're going to continue with the next question, Meg, because this one is coming from a student. So he's a 7th grade grader here in South Texas. His name is Victor, and he says, in Mercy Suarez changes gears, Mercy faces lots of challenges at school and home. Did you ever go through something similar when you were growing up? And how did you handle it?
That is a really good question, Victor. I would say yes. I think the funniest one is that I had very worried mother and grandmother. You know how Abuela in the Mercy Suarez series is afraid of everything that, that they're going to get kidnapped, they're going to drown, they're going to, se preocupa de todo. My grandmother was the same way, and so was my mother. And it became funny. It became funny because there were all these very creative ways that I was going to meet my end. So when I was writing Mercy Suarez, I gave that to Abuela. I gave that ese nerviosismo, estaba pendiente de todo, you're going to, don't go out at dark, cuidado con esto, all of those things I gave to Abuela, and I gave Mercy that sort of frustration. The other thing that I think I called on, but I can't think of like a specific thing, it just happened like all the time. Friends can be really hard when we're in middle school. It's hard to be, especially if you're in a group of friends, like with 3 friends, right? It always feels like there's 2 that get along, then la tercera for a while is out, and then it's another 2, and that is hard. And there's always in every school a bossy Edna Santos. I have never gone to a school where there's not somebody like Edna Santos who says, no offense, but, and then, they crush your feeling. So, ese conflicto con compañeros en la escuela, all of those sort of conflicts and what they look like in the classroom, that felt realistic to me. And certainly in the 6th grade, when suddenly it felt like the boys and the girls were sort of changing, and some people had romantic feelings and other people were still like, ugh! So it was all of those things that I remembered from growing up that I put in the book. Thank you for that question, Victor. I love that question.
Beautiful, beautiful question from Victor. And middle school, right? How middle school teacher right here. And it's like a telenovela every day, right?
Por cierto,
right?
Por cierto, en miniatura, exacto.
Sí, claro que sí. Claro que sí. Y esto nos lleva, Meg, a nuestra siguiente pregunta. We have another question from another student. She's a 5th grade student. Her name is Camila. Y Camila nos dice lo siguiente. I speak Spanish at home and English at school. Sometimes it is hard, but I want to be good at both. Can you give me some advice or share how being bilingual has been helpful in your life?
Oh, Camila, I love this question so much. I grew up exactly the same way. En casa hablábamos español. My mom, mis tías, mi mamá, mis abuelos, todo en español. And then in school and outside playing with my friends, todito en inglés. And it was like 2 different worlds. Pero how lucky I feel today to be able to go back and forth. My advice to you is so now, unlike when I was little, now you have lots of books available in 2 different editions. Like all of my books, you can read Mercy Suarez Changes Gears. You can also read Mercy Suarez Se Pone las Pilas, which I would really advise you to do. It's kind of fun to see the same story in 2 languages. And if that feels too hard, you could start with the picture books, Mango Abuela y Yo or Mango Abuela and Me, or Evelyn del Rey se muda, Evelyn del Rey is moving away. And just see the magic of language and practice. Reading Spanish, learning to read Spanish ended up being really, really important. There is the speaking it, but you want to be able to read it. And my tío was the one who taught me how to read Spanish. Se sentó conmigo un día, he sat with me one day y me dijo, ven acá niña, because he was so surprised that I could not speak English, read Spanish. And he said, A, E, I, O, U. El burro sabe más que tú. And I was insulted. But he was saying to me that in Spanish, A, E, I, O, U, the vowels, they always sound exactly the same. They don't change. They're not tricky like in English, right? English is really tricky, pero el español no. And so I had already learned to read in English. So I knew like sounding out words, like that process. So and I had Spanish words in my head. So he showed me how to just sound it out. And we were reading, and suddenly I was reading Espanol. That became so important because now I could read books in other languages. I could talk to lots of people in 2 different languages. Now, I speak English better than I speak Spanish. That's the truth because I have more practice in English. Pero me defiendo. En español me puedo defender y me entienden. Cuando tengo que hablar, me entienden lo que estoy diciendo, and I can communicate with so many more people. If you have the chance to learn 2 languages and read them, learn 2. If you have the chance to do 3, 3. Si tienes la oportunidad de aprender 4, que sean 4. So much research is out there about how bilingual people and multilingual people process how their brain works, and it's fascinating. It will only be helpful. So I say, get to the library, get Spanish edition books, y prueba. Lee con tu mamá o con tu papá, a practicar, a compartir el libro con ellos. I think you'll enjoy it.
Excelente, excelente, Meg. Muchas gracias. Así que, Camila, a seguir practicando English and Spanish, being bilingual, being multilingual, right? Because our babies, if they're already bilingual, hey, let's not stop there. Let's continue with more languages, opening the door for more learning. Excelente, excelente, Meg. I'm gonna go ahead and continue because I have more questions from you from our community, and time is flying. So. Se va muy rápido el tiempo. So our next question is, if you could convey one message to students about embracing their own culture and heritage and being proud of who they are, what would it be?
I'm going to say this. Things didn't start with you. You come from many nations with entire histories and cultures and civilizations behind you. All of those things were molded to bring you to this moment. Your history and all of those histories are now part also of America's history, of the United States history. What we offer, what we're bringing is the world into our nation. That's a beautiful thing. That is a beautiful, beautiful thing. There will be times where you might meet folks who don't think that's so beautiful, or who have ideas that is dangerous or something like that. But your culture, your background, your language, your foods, your customs, your point of view in the world are beautiful, and they're part of this country's history now too. So wear them, be proud, be respectful of yourself, of your family, and of others. Y pa'lante, as they say.
Pa'lante vamos. Yes.
Pa'lante vamos.
Be respectful, be you, right? Be you and be proud about it. Me encanta, Meg. Muchas gracias. And our next question, Meg, this is coming from one of our teachers from our community. Muy interesante la pregunta. And they're telling us the following. In your writings, you highlight the significance of family and traditions, right, with Latino cultures. So in your opinion, how can teachers incorporate these themes into the classrooms to create a more inclusive and culturally responsive learning environment?
Oh my gosh, I love this question. Don't forget that if you have 30 children in your class or 25, you have 25 access to 25 experts. So the expertise of the home. Um, don't overlook the knowledge and the the fountain of knowledge that's coming from the home for your students. So invite those competencies into your classroom. Invite folks who know about just any number of things, whether it's natural things or scientific things, textiles, foods, lo que sea. Invite the experts who are the parents, the tías, the tíos, the people who are running businesses in the community. Invite them in for their expertise. On my website, there is a series of materials, an author study of my books that uses family stories as the basis, like for writing assignments, right? So having the kids reconnect with their own story of their grandparents, of how the family arrived, of any of those the family stories that we carry with us, that we hear over and over again, bringing them into the classroom, using the parents as part of offering them entrance to create connection and offer their knowledge. I think those are two really important ways, not to set it up so that what is going on at home is one thing, but what's going on at school is really important, quote unquote. It's all important. It's all part of their education, and sort of bringing those things in.
I love it, Meg. I love it. I love it. And crear una comunidad, ¿verdad? Ser parte de
Mhm.
una comunidad y traerlos y traerlas a todos y a todas. I love, 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 love that, Meg. So before we go, I
Yeah.
have to ask you, is there anything else you would like to say to those who are listening?
Yeah, you know what? I'm thinking of something you say, which is always siempre con amor. And I want to say that I'm doing this job as ambassador in that spirit, in service to you, with enormous love and respect for the kids who are out there. So I hope that, I want them connected with reading, not just my books, but just books that make their heart fill. Like, read, connect with your families, connect with your communities through the libraries, and know that there are people, there are authors, there are people working out here who are moving through this space with thinking of you and with enormous love for you. That's what I would really most want to say to them.
Thank you, thank you. And love is a universal language. It works everywhere and it opens those doors
Mm,
everywhere. Así que, me queremos darte las gracias por haber compartido tus experiencias, pero principalmente tu orgulloso corazón hispano.
ah,
Gracias por ser un ejemplo a seguir. Muchísimas gracias. We would like to
gracias.
share our gratitude for your willingness to share your experiences, and especially for your pride in your Hispanic heritage. Thank you, thank you, thank you for being here, and thank you for being an inspiring role model for all of us. Muchísimas gracias. Muchísimas gracias. Ha sido un honor y un placer, Meg.
Gracias, Feli. Para mí también fue un honor. And to everybody, I'm sending you much love and a big hug.
Gracias. And to everyone listening, we are so glad that you joined us today to learn from Meg Medina and celebrate Hispanic Heritage Month. Si se les puso así la carne de gallina como a mí con todas estas emociones, we are in the right place, my friends. You can keep the learning going. So, because we can head to the Flip Discovery Library and find ready to use topics to use with our students to celebrate Hispanic Heritage Month. You will see a feature collection right there on the screen. So the collection is ready to go. And to keep the conversation going, ¿verdad? Para seguir con la conversación, esta conversación tan maravillosa que tuvimos con esta gran persona, gran individuo y un ejemplo a seguir. Today's conversation has been so beautiful. If you're catching a replay of this or watching in the future, please know that all our events are available for you at your convenience to watch on demand. Pero sigamos con la conversación, así como lo vemos en pantalla en flip.com/Think It, Flip It. Flip.com/Think It, Flip It. A seguir hablando de esto con nuestros estudiantes todos los días, como nos lo dijo Meg Medina. So again, our events are available on demand. Find upcoming events right here on the screen. You see the site. So it is aka.ms/flip events. We would love to have for you to join us, right? Because there's more events coming our way for you, for our beautiful community. And my friends, that's it for today. I'm your host, Feli Garcia Lopez, and on behalf of Microsoft Flip, our amazing guest, maravillosa Meg Medina, and our friends at Candlewood Press, I want to thank you for spending your time with us. We will see you next time. Muchísimas gracias a todos y a todas por haber participado en esta grandiosa conversación y que tengan un excelente día. Hasta luego. Muchas gracias.